Okay, so I'm mold making uh, pieces for the outside because I realized that my serrated edge method looked really bad when it was stuck on. Uh, so what I did was I left the edges pretty much bare. So what happened was I just took an X-Acto and I carefully cut the serrated edges off. When I put this put these drawings online, what I'll do is just eliminate the serrated edges completely that I had on there, and you'll just have some piece of exposed foam core. And hopefully, the way that it folds, you get this little gap of paper in a sort of bubble over top of the foam core as the excess paper gets to the edge. But what's great when dealing with paper is that you can do things, you can cheat to flex the paper nicely. So what I figured I would do is just try to end cap it as well as I could, like butt the edges, sort of butt joint, and glue underneath as best I could, and sort of form a radius for the outside. And then, if I was lucky, after I could push the bubble down. Um, I could flex this bubble down uh, onto the other piece and hold it and glue it, and hopefully that would hold, right? So that's what I tried to do. And I was successful with this. Well, not so much this edge. Wasn't as successful. Like from certain angles, it looks okay. This is the more successful side. So not bad. The results can be better, especially if you're not looking under direct light like this. It looks not bad from far away. So ideally, you just want to avoid the black corner and go with or white corner if you're using white foam core, and you want to go with something that looks like that from far away. You can always Photoshop it if you really take photos of this thing later. But yeah, so what I've done, I made some crazy method here for doing this, is I got this strip of the anodized film, paper thing, whatever. I made it the thickness of the edge with a little extra. You can't really see this, but there's a line that I kind of scored along, a slight line, and that's just going to, every time I cut off a nice square piece, piece to the size that I've got. So what I do is every time I cut off a piece, like see, I measure by doing this. I just kind of turn it around and see where it lines up at the end, and just by eye I find out where the other end is, and I clip it at that point. I cut it off with the X-Acto here, and then I take the extra thickness that I have, and usually it comes out with a little stick like that, and that's a perfect little glue stick that I can use with my gluing. Not many people are going to bother with that. Maybe they'll use the same one. I prefer to have a new one each time, so that's what I do. It works pretty well. So it's just because you have little small areas you may have to get into later with the glue stick, and if you have a nice new one. So to get this type of shape with this material, because it's very picky and it's got a silvery finish on it, and it doesn't like water, but water is the key to bending anything like wood and so on. What I've done is it's the key to bending anything with fibrous material anyway. So what I've done is I cut out my piece that I wanted, yay size, something like that, and then I put it under the tap, just like a drop of water on it, like preferably down the side or edge, whatever, just to let the water seep right through, and it soaks right into the layers of the paper. And right away, I brought out this highlighter, and then I just rested this piece on the highlighter. It looks easier said easier than done, sort of thing. Easier said. I rested it on the highlighter like that, let it dry while it was relatively flat. It kind of sat on the highlighter, and then, well, not really dry, but it soaked in, and then once there was no really visible water on top of the paper, I then proceeded to push down on both corners and sort of give this a roll, and it allowed me to get a nice little roll. Then I left it on there to soak up for a bit. Then I took it over to my fan, which I have going conveniently in the background. I had this little piece went over to my fan over here, and I just let it go with the fan for a bit in my hand, just to flap around and dry. And then even after, let it sit for a couple seconds more, like a minute more, 10 minutes, make a coffee, whatever, and then dry fit it. So I've done some dry fitting with a specific corner that I wanted it for, because you're going to have variables for each corner. A little intense, a little obsessive, but it seems to work pretty well. So I've got this dry fit edge, and what you want to do is really snap the corners in first. And I even allow with this piece to go out a bit, to bubble out, because my foam core is slightly bigger. So you see there's that little bubble out. So what I'm going to do eventually is get the gluing done, and as the glue, because the glue adds a bit of moisture to this as well, again, sort of second the wetting of the paper, you want to be really careful when you're using your fingernail to push in sharp edges and stuff like that. So you got to be really careful, and you also have to be really careful of getting white glue onto this material if you're not intending to, because if you get a white glue spot somewhere that gets right into the fibers, good luck wiping it off and trying to look clean. So, one of those things, the model making, it's just picky. But yeah, so that's how you do that, and we'll give you an update once that corner is stuck on.